All right. Welcome, everyone. Hello, Acolytes. Welcome to the Cleric Corner. My name is Riker, and here we talk about all things Dungeons & Dragons, tapping into that higher power to create worlds more unique and stories more impactful. Today, we got another DM Q&A workshop deal, right? Am I too close to the camera? I feel a little close to the camera today. I don't know why. But welcome, everybody. So good to see you. Jax Lockhart in the chat. Hey, I see your question. I'm going to answer that. We're going to do a little bit something different today, though. I'm trying to, just, I guess, a heads up, I'm trying to implement more of my patron members. Obviously, they are first with everything. They are the ones that support me in the most ways, especially financially. So what I did was actually, before I went on today, early today, I put out a question for my patron members and asked them if they had any questions. And so I did have a couple. It was a little late notice, so I apologize, but I did have a couple replies, and we're going to get to them first, and then we're going to get to everybody else's. Remember, if you do ask a question, so Jax, if I don't answer your question later, just remind me. But if I don't answer that question... Oh, no. This one goes for everybody. So if you do have a question, just write question in all caps, and then your question right after that. I had a little thing, like, in this... Goodness gracious. My finger's going everywhere. Down in this corner, I had something that says, like, what to do and to ask a question, but now it's gone, and I don't know what happened. So, let's see who else we have in the chat. Christian Roberts, hello. Emil Diaz, hello. Tyler Williams. We got some awesome people just jumping in right now. Dalton Bradrick, hello. And Patricius the Human Fighter, of course. Welcome, guys. Welcome. I want to tell you guys, I need a vent for a second, okay? I had a game last night, and we had a TPK. Have you guys had a TPK before? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it your fault? Was it the DM's fault? Was it the dice's fault? Well, last night, it wasn't mine. It was not my fault. Let me tell you a quick story. Then we'll get to the chat. Oh, actually, before I do that, obviously, big shout out to my patron members. With our cleric being Scott Burns, our acolytes Kaleidoscope and Weaver Atropos, our disciples Christian Roberts, Ryan Ramirez, Christopher Byer, Melkadil, Christopher Olson, Joseph Rogers, Oren Hammerquist, Matt Clark, and 95 miles per hour Tonberry. So guys, thank you again so much. If you do want to support me in that way, obviously you don't have to, don't feel pressure to. Obviously likes and comments and engagement obviously helps out my videos in so many ways. But if you do want to support me in that way, all links are in the description. So thank you. Okay, so with the TPK, yeah, Christian Roberts, yeah, no, I'm surprised you haven't heard it from Alec yet. Tyler Williams, that's my face exactly. That was my face exactly. So here's what happened, okay? I warned them. Session 0, I warned them at the beginning of the entire campaign. I'm like, hey, there will be places that are too strong for you. Decisions that you make will have consequences. And if you think that it would be dangerous for you as an individual to do, it might be a little dangerous for you in this game to do, kind of thing, right? So, I mean, obviously not terrible. Not like everywhere they go is hard. Like, they're not going to have a hard time fighting wolves, that kind of thing. But they decided to kind of sneak in to a pirate encampment, a pirate clan. There was actually two clans that had recently met in armistice and are now kind of like guarding each other. And they decided to sneak in under the guise of one of the clans, which, to all intents and purposes, they were kind of successful in doing so. However, they walked right into the middle of camp and started shooting up everybody. So they had two entire pirate clans with, I think it was a total of 10 boats worth of people, just swarm them and kill them. The battle took like 2 sessions because there was a lot of people, and it was a lot. But eventually and it was actually kind of funny because the captains were like on the edge of the map, so it took them like the whole session to get to the center where they were. And I'm like, just freaking dash, people. So anyways, I was having a lot of fun, just bringing them in, and they thought they were doing great, because they were picking off, like, the younglings who were kind of closer. Not the younglings, this isn't Star Wars. The lower CR creatures, and they thought that they had it in the bag. They didn't know about the captains coming from the edges. And so anyways, they died, right? But But I kind of thought that they might make a decision like that. And I didn't make this, and I didn't do this because I thought that they were making that decision. However, it was a good failsafe to have. This area was basically the home of a vampire noble. The story of this vampire noble is he contracted vampirism, and he realized that even with all the money around him, he wasn't safe. And so he kind of gave up his throne, moved here, built a castle, and started, this piratism where they would take the rich and give to the poor kind of thing. But he was a vampire. And not everyone in this clan is, the same stalwart kind of visionary that he was, and people kind of got greedy over time. Anyways, I'm making the story longer than it needs to be. He doesn't want to be a vampire. He doesn't want other people to be vampires. He sees it as the curse that it is. So he made a few deals. He did a few things to make the area here so that no one can die. No one can become undead because no one can die here. When you fall unconscious, you are instantly stabilized. It's like a hollow effect almost where they're at. So they didn't die. Went in, got questioned by him, offended him, got sent into the cellars, like where they were caged, they were in prison, they were in the dungeon. And I was kind of like, hey, you guys died. They took precautions to keep you at 1 hit point and exhaustion. And I gave them an NPC to help them out. This NPC wanted the blood of the vampire and wanted to turn into a vampire. So that was kind of the trade-off. Like, hey, this is one more shot because you guys TPK'd. This is one more shot. Get through this. You'll survive, but you might have to let a vampire go. And that was the deal. And so they follow the vampire all the way up, or sorry, not the vampire, they follow the guy who wanted the vampire blood to turn into a vampire all the way up to where the vampires were resting, going to stake them, and then one of them put up a wall of force, stopped it from happening, crap hit the fan, they fought both the vampires and the NPC that followed them up, or that led them up there, because he was really good at convincing people otherwise that he was not the enemy. And they died for the second time in the upstairs room before the NPC could show them the secret way out. So anyways, so that happened. So then I had a tough decision, or I had a tough conversation with my my players and said, hey, again, this place is still at a point where you can't die here. However, if my character, what my character would do, these people would probably take them off, kill them, and then bring their bodies back because they were deemed too dangerous, right? But I told them, like, hey, we can either continue on from here. There will be more consequences and more things happening in the world in your absence. We can continue on here with dire consequences, or we can turn a new leaf and start a new game. And they're going to give my answer tomorrow. So, Octanico, thank you so much. I'm so sorry. For someone who is a new, TPK is a total party kill. Total party kill, meaning that everyone died, no one survived, and there's no one that can help revive them afterwards, essentially. So yeah, it was a good TPK story, if anything, right? Now my players can say, hey, I had a TPK, this is what happened, la-da-da, right? And so either way, obviously I just want them to have fun. Obviously I want them to play who they want to play. I know one character specifically really wants to continue their story in the campaign. I know the other ones are not really there. They kind of want to be done with this one and start something else. So we'll see. We'll see. But thank you for letting me tell that story, because I needed to tell somebody. I needed that somewhere in the Etherverse. But if my players are watching, I don't blame you. There was a lot of things that happening, and no one person was to blame. So there you go. Whew. All right, who do we have? Anybody else? Anybody else? Pedro, hey, welcome to the chat. And then, yeah, Patricia says, I can't say I've ever been in a TPK. Hey, lucky. Do have a few character deaths. Yeah, I mean, it's almost like which is worse, Like TPK, everyone starts over, but then with just your character dying, you have to bring in somebody else's new and start a whole relationship with people that you already kind of know about, but you have to pretend that you don't. So there are fun ways of doing things. Anyways, let's get to our questions. Okay, So again, going back to my patron questions, so I sent out a Q&A for my patrons who support me in that way and see if they had any questions for tonight. We had a couple. So Rai Perez, we have a question. Have you ever co-DM'd before? What's it like, and what would be an ideal share split of responsibilities? So have you ever co-DM'd before? Yes, I have. And what's it like, and what would be the ideal share split of responsibilities? Yes, I did co-DM. I co-DM'd with Christian Roberts. He's in the chat, so if you have any insight, you're welcome to add into it. But that was the very first campaign that we played in was a co-DM. It was a shared campaign. And I've talked about it on live streams before. It's actually surprised me how many people are interested in that kind of topic. Maybe I should make a video about it. But what happened was I originally started the campaign, but I wanted everyone to kind of have a turn DMing because it is, a lot to prepare an adventure every single week. And so it got to a point where every single person at the table was DMing. Every single person. And I think it's actually a fantastic way to, one, help your players kind of know what it's like to be in the DM shoes, and two, kind of train them up to be a DM so that you can actually be a player on one of these games, right? So you don't have to DM all the time. You don't have to be a forever DM. And obviously, when we did that, we all kind of learned the ropes, and we did kind of a big event for a bunch of newbies, and it was kind of fun. But the issue that we found is that it's very hard to keep a story going without spoiling anything, right? So it came down to me and one other person. Except Kevin. I thought Kevin did, Christian. I know that he DM'd for the event that you guys put on. But anyways, where was I? There was me and one other person who we kind of took on the role of the narrators or the storytellers, the one that kind of kept we were the lore keepers. That's a better word. We kept the lore in the back of our heads, and so when it was one person's turn for DMing, we're like, hey, doesn't matter what you do during this adventure, but we need just this one element included to carry on the story, and we need it to end around this, right? To lead into the next bit. We need to end it around here. You can do anything in between from reading from here to here, but this is where we need you to end it, and this is what we need you to include. That's kind of just what we did, and it really worked. We did have one place where the BBEG was a genie, and genies were a long lost entity. They were long gone. Genies were, and they were basically kept in runic stones around the world, and we had one evil genie that escaped from one of these stones. And we thought we were clear on one player in saying, hey, genies don't exist, so don't implement them. But she did anyways. So we had to figure out a way of why that worked. And sometimes that happens, right? And that maybe can be a fun element where you can, if something like that happens, you can kind of play it off and say like, yeah, normally these things don't, but why this one time? Why this one time is it something different than it was before, right? And so it's everybody kind of helping each other. It's a big improvisational thing, as D&D games are. And so when it comes to the share or the split of it, I think the other person actually still runs games in that world, if I'm not mistaken. But it was an equal share. And to kind of put another element to this as well, is even if your players don't want to DM or aren't DMing, they can still take a lot of the brunt work of note-taking, of snack bringing, of keeping track of initiative, of hit points, of researching different kinds of monsters or other elements that you want to implement in the game. Like, people can still be involved even if they're not DMing. And you just think of all the work that you normally have to do as you prepare for each game. And I think everyone's kind of different in that, but as you prepare for each game, let other people do it. Especially the parts that you don't like, right? So hopefully that answers your question, right, Perez? I think that was pretty exhaustive. So, Christian, yeah, everyone DM'd but Kevin. He never had the time for prep. Yeah, that makes sense. He has his music stuff going on. Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, speaking of Christian Roberts, you had a question. How do you handle burnout? Or where do you go for inspiration for your characters and games you GM of? Wait, you're a GM of. Well, first off, you just TPK your players. No, I get it. If I'm being honest, I actually had a little bit of burnout these last couple weeks because of the things going on, because the decisions were made. I'm like, oh, geez, like, I don't know how to fix this. I don't know where we're going. Like, anyways. But I kind of think about it as, how do you handle, and again, if you guys have more things about this too, we're talking about, how you handle burnout as a DM. If you have stuff to say, please. I think I handle burnout, or I kind of perceive handling burnout the same way as we handle burnout for like work. If we go to a job and we are burnt out there, we take a vacation. We take a couple days off. We change our routine. We do something fun or something else fun that we really enjoy, and things like that. And another thing is, when it comes to being a GM, we're kind of like a cup. And this is kind of how I see it. It's not the truth of all truth, but how I see it is that we are a cup. And as we run a game, as we make an amazing story with and for our players, we are spilling the cup into this fantasy setting. We are pouring forth imagination and creativity. And if that cup isn't being filled by other means, we're basically sitting here, and I feel like I'm kind of trying to squeeze out the last bit of toothpaste in the toothpaste container, right? Where I'm folding up the bits and pushing it out the middle to get the last bit out. It feels like that sometimes. So whether we watching shows, reading books, playing video games, those are sources of creative inspiration for you. And I find a lot of inspiration doing those things as well. I spend a lot of time on Pinterest. I scroll on Pinterest because I really like D&D art. One of the biggest things that I look for in supplements or things that I buy off of DM's Guild or things like that, art is huge. Love art because that's kind of what inspires me. So if I go, where do I go to for inspiration? A lot of it is just the creative expression of other people. I spend a lot of time on ArtStation as well. But get to it. I think the thing is if you're not excited, you're bored, and that's kind of where burnt out comes. Is you're not excited anymore, and so it's to rebuild that excitement by inspiring that creativity and that animation, because that's why we're DMing. That's why we're in Dungeons and Dragons. It's a creative outlet. It's a game. It's fun. So if we're not having fun, we're being burnt out. But anyways, I'm rambling now. Hopefully that answers your question. But I think everyone kind of handles being burnt out differently, and it's about figuring out what works for you. And also, one more thing too. Two things. One thing is, I think we get stuck, or at least I'm talking about me, I think we get stuck when we are doing a campaign that it's going one direction and that's it. And when it's going one direction and we're not excited about it, if it's going this direction and we feel that we can't change it because of the current story, I think that's when we need to. When we're not excited about where our campaign is going, I think we need to change it, right? Doesn't matter the lore, doesn't matter the direction, doesn't matter. There are times before where I have clean slated where the campaign was going, and I recreated it into something that I was a little bit more excited about. Now, there are times where it could mix with some past hints that you've done. One, players might not remember, or two, just work those in. But I think that I guess I just keep saying the same thing. Just make it so that you get excited about the future of your campaign, of your game, and whatever that looks like, I think you're on the right track. Okay, anyways, next stuff. Mightenov, hello. Love the content. Keep up the great work. I appreciate that. I will do such thing. Pedro, a demon masquerading as a genie with wishes being packs. That's kind of what we had going on. Absolutely. Okay, I'm going to scroll back up to get this one question by Jack Lockhart. I know you've been waiting a while, so I apologize. So he says, I'm new and I'm about to play Curse of Strahd for what will be my second campaign. I got asked to be a Dampier. Amazing. Any ideas on class? I was thinking Paladin or Cleric. Both of those would be amazing. Because of the healing nature, you can definitely reflavor that as a vampiric nature. Especially with the necrotic spells of the Cleric. I do have a video all about blood magic. And I think it would cause for a lot of inspiration for you. Because I go through actually every single class and reflavoring it to fit more of a blood aesthetic or a blood magic kind of game. Or a blood magic kind of thing. So it should be on my settings playlist. And if you go check that out, it's an all video about reflavoring blood. And I think that'll be very inspirational for you. Okay, I think I saw one other question here. Yes, by Pedro. Question: have you ever had a one-shot that extended into a full campaign? Yeah, that's basically what that first one was. When I played it with all of my friends for the first time, the first time we played D&D, it was a one-shot. And then the second game was a one-shot. And then the third game tied in the first game, and we're like, hold up, this could be something. And then we started to kind of tie in the small bits of lore that we made in those three one-shots, and then made an entire campaign around it, which was pretty cool. I've also had one-shots that extended into like 2-shots and 3-shots, and those are kind of fun because they're almost like a B plot. And I like doing those especially when it's the past or future of or just another place of the world of a campaign you're already in. So it's not like you escaped that world and entered another. You're getting different parts of the lore in the world and maybe even hints of what's kind of going on behind the scenes of the players that you're doing in the original campaign. But yes, I have. Dalton Bradrick, yes! Question no caps, good job. Working on a campaign, awesome. Party are vigilantes recruited to go against different gangs in a Victorian-style city. Amazing. That's really cool. So vigilantes going against different gangs in a Victorian-style city. Gangs of New York, Peaky Blinders meets Batman. Wondered if you had any ideas. Ooh. One that I had really recently. Because I absolutely thought about this before. No. I had an email. I had an email earlier, and I don't think that this is bad. I'm telling you because it's not out yet. Where did it go? Nope. There was a Kickstarter. There's a Kickstarter going on where it is basically you playing villainous people. That's the stick. Is that it's basically a compendium on how to play evil characters, and it's kind of really cool. It's not out yet. It's going to be out at the beginning of November, so I think in a month. But go to jot down just so you remember it. It's called Villainous Champions of Shadowkeep. Villainous Champions of Shadowkeep. This is free advertising, so I don't think they'll mind. But for that, it will have rules on like how to have a keep, how to set up traps like a lair, right? How to set up a thieves guild. If you like, and then you basically are customizing your own evil lair, and then the whole game is fighting off people or heroes who have come to attack you. And I don't think that's what you're playing, but I think it'd be really cool, like inspiration for you. But as vigilantes recruited against a Victorian-style city, another video that I will recommend actually is the modern city, or what was it called? Another one of my videos, guys. I do videos all the time. I have things like that, and I think that I'm smart about it. Okay. So it's the Creating your modern D&D character. 100 ideas to prepare your present-day adventure. Again, Victorian is a little bit different from modern, but again, I think you'll get a lot of ideas from that as well. Also, look into the Domain of Dread. Shoot, what's it called? You guys are going to remind me. It's the Domain of Dread, where it's basically a detective agency. Oh, yeah. The Vague Agency. And there's a whole lot of lore behind that as well. If you look up I think Jordan, the PH is Silent, his YouTube channel has done some bits about that, which would also be good. So I know that I'm just kind of pointing you to videos. But hey, if other people said it right, then why repeat myself or repeat them? But I do love that you guys are playing Vigilantes as well. So you are the DM too, huh? That's exciting. I'm thinking that there would be a lot to prepare. And if you could give me a little bit about what your gangs look like, I think would give me a lot more insight on what you're trying to go for as well. Okay. Christian Roberts totally tricked me into playing something I came to really enjoy. Thanks, man. Hey, I enjoyed it too. Honestly, I really did. Love your characters, as always. Maddox Clark, question. Nice question. Any tips on pulling roleplay out of people who are really passive during sessions? Yeah, I do. I've been there. So you're trying to give players ample agency, but sometimes it seems like they're just watching TV. Yeah, sometimes it'd be like that, though. Last stream, we talked about different player types, and one of those player types is just the good friend, right? They're kind of just there to hang out. They don't really want to roleplay. They don't really want to get involved too much. They're just there to have fun, and basically sitting there is their fun. So, not knowing who your players are or who you hang out with originally or personally, some people are just like that. And they don't like to roleplay, and sitting there and just talking about things on the sidelines is how they have fun. And if that's how they have fun, then your job is done. Stop worrying about it, dude. You're good, right? If they're having fun, awesome. And maybe that's something that you can ask them is, how can you have more fun? Or I feel that you don't feel comfortable at roleplay. What's some ways that you can do better? Or what's some ways that I can do better? And I guess the other good way of doing it is just doing it to them, right? Role-playing at them, including them into the role-play. You can ask your other members to role-play with them as well. Ask everybody to kind of get involved to help that player out. Because it's different on if they don't want to or if they just find it hard, right? Because one you can do a lot with, one you probably shouldn't do anything for. I'm trying to think if I have super passive people in role plays as well. One thing that I also do is just ask them questions. Really, like, hey, what's your character thinking about in this moment? Or hey, your player just witnessed this. How do they react? And because the problem with not role playing or having people not role play is, I am assuming, and this is how I've kind of perceived it, is that you feel like you're leaving them out. You feel like they're not involved. You feel like they feel left out. And you feel like they're bored or not having fun. And obviously you want everybody to have fun, right? So it's just including them at different... in as many different ways as you possibly can, right? So ask them questions. Making sure that if all the players are... let's say this. Let's say that you come through a clearing. You see a creature in front of you. Everyone... locks and loads, shoots arrows, throws a fireball. It's kind of hectic. That player might not jump in and say something. They might be like, "Oh, what's going on?" Right? They might not feel comfortable talking over other people, but still want to be involved. So make sure that as everyone's taking their turn and doing things, say like, "Hey, did you want to do something?" And just include them, because I think that that's really just what role play is. Role play. In a lot of senses, people think it's just like talky back and forth, but roleplay is a lot more than that. Roleplay is combat. Roleplay is exploration. The game is a role-play game. That's the whole thing's role-play, right? But but a lot of people, when they talk about role-play, it's about social encounters, and that's kind of what I'm assuming that you're talking about. So hopefully that helps. But that's just kind of what I do, is just involve them in other ways as you can. Keep them busy, keep them having fun. Give them ample opportunities to be involved, but if they don't want to at the end of the day, don't force them. Okay. Says Corrado, is the Kickstarter notify me page up? It might be. If you look it up, it might be. The Villainous Champions of the Shadowkeep for 5e. Yep. Villainous Champions of Shadowkeep. It probably is. It probably is. I have a preview of the Kickstarter page, and everything's up on my end. So you guys can totally... I think it should be up. Patricia's the Human Fighter. Soon going up to be... Oh, wait. No, soon going to be an ASMR Glamour Bard. Ooh, that heavily draws from Elton John. Going to watch the Glamour Bard video for further inspiration. Do it. I also really want to see that new Elton John movie that came out. What was it, like 2 years ago? Something like that? I know that they had this like streak for like 6 months, and they made just a bunch of like live action, not documentaries, but like full-length movies about the lives of musicians. And Elton John was one of them. I wanted to see it. I really liked the Prince one. Let's see. Pedro, now visiting an industrial tyrant that sells dream power that allows users... Oh, I think you guys are having a B-plot over here. Okay. Is someone gonna be Batman? In your game, Dalton? Is someone gonna be Batman? Like a Batman-esque type character? I always feel like every game that I do, or not every game, every game store, yeah, like when big gatherings of people are kind of coming together and there's a lot of newbies, there's always one person that's like, hey, can I play Batman? At least that's what it was for me. It was for me. I actually started my gaming in a game store. Actually, yeah, I had kind of forgotten about this. Before I even had it with my friends and asked my friends to join, I went once or twice to a game store. I played a tiefling druid who had antlers instead of real horns, because, hey, I was flavoring just straight from the start. He had antlers instead of horns. He's a druid tiefling, and it was a ton of fun. I remember the moment that it was for me, the moment that happened for me. I don't know if I think I've told you this story. Moment for happened for me that I fell in love with D&D was that we went into like a encampment. There was a bunch of orcs. This was back when orcs were still evil, and there were a bunch of orcs, and we were fighting the orcs. And I used thaumaturgy to create a draconic roar, like a dragon roar. And depending on your opinion of thaumaturgy, whether that can do that or not is whatever. But for this DM, it worked, and I did this draconic roar, and all of these orcs got super scared and ran away. And I just felt so cool after that. I'm like, wow, I just cast a spell, and I just freaking owned this combat. And I'm like, I need to do this again. Yeah, Christian Roberts. I play a socially awkward character in my campaign, or in your campaign. Yeah. Yeah, true. I can't believe I didn't even think about that. So I asked the player how their character does things. Yeah. It was an experiment to actually play a character that wasn't expressive, that didn't have a lot of reasons to speak, if that makes sense. They were kind of they had a shell up, they had walls up. It was very interesting for my last character, who was a bard. And yeah, I just felt like there was a lot of things internal. I wanted a lot of things going on internally and not a lot of things going externally. And it was a cool exploration for me. And I remember one day he's like, dude, just what are you thinking? What do you want? Not in those words, but and I'm like, well, I'm good, dude. But I think just having conversations outside of the table is huge as well. So I appreciate him reaching out and asking, like, where kind of the things like, where are you at? What are you doing? What are things that are important to you? Kind of where are you kind of going? What do you think about the other characters? Things like that helps. Oh, Dalton, question clarification. Gangs are ex-sailors, pirates. Awesome. I assume they're kind of on the docks. Wood elf refugees. Ooh, that's interesting. Crooked plague doctors. Magic school dropouts. And urban werewolves. Honestly, that sounds so freaking fun. That sounds so good. I'm getting like heavy, like Dimension 20, Sleepless City. Is that what it's called? The Unsleeping City. I'm also getting the one, what is it called? Onward from Disney. I'm also getting Onward Disney vibes from that as well. Just fantasy, but modern, or in like, if put in a city-like place. Actually, if it's Victorian era, did New York even have skyscrapers or tall buildings? If it was in the Victorian era? Victorian era New York. I mean, hey, cool. I don't know what that looks like, though. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's just cool. Magic school dropouts, urban werewolves, crooked plague doctors, wood elf refugees, ex-sailors, and pirates. So, I guess my first concern would be, how are these people interacting? Right? Are they all peaceful? Are they all at war? Do they have deals with one another? Kind of where are they kind of aligned? And that's this thing that you want with factions in general, not just in this case, but in general, is places that you want your players to align with, right? Or acting as foils for. And so, like in my campaign, I have 5 different pirate factions, and they've been close to align with a couple of them, but it's interesting because they're all kind of wrong and they're all kind of right. And that's kind of the trick, right? Is that when whatever alignment they are, whatever kind of ideals that they have, make some of it that makes sense, and then obviously the rest of them will have opinions about it. So actually what I did, maybe I'll show you this, if I can pull it up. Something super simple. So this is one of my clans, one of my factions. And basically what I did was I just wrote down quickly, I wrote this at the beginning of my campaign, haven't touched it. Clan values, what their values are, what's kind of why they're here, what they're doing right here, and then views on other clans, right? So I had the 4 other clans. Basically, in a sentence, what do these people generally think of this other clan? So with the Recuson clan, they take from the rich, give to the poor. Those who stay in power, those in power stay in power unless others say different. Wealth and money make the biggest and fastest change. Okay, and then views on other clans. The Samsara, they're lazy, they're selfish, they need to take action. The Kaban clan should be giving, less fortunate, not hoarding. All that gold that they have, because they're aligned with the dragon, could lift in the entire lore class. Watcher class, if they don't bother them, we don't bother, or they don't bother us, we don't bother them. They're kind of an outskirt clan. And then Kuchalel. Oh no, Kuchalel was cowards behind the dragon. Kaban clan was their collectors of magical items. So, and then I did that for everyone. So Samsara clan here, same thing. Kuchalel, clan values, and how they look at the other people. So, hopefully that helps a little bit on that direction. But it sounds like you got some like really cool, fleshed out factions, anyways. And I would be excited and really interested as a player of yours to know how all of those kind of interact. So, okay, I got a couple more questions, so we'll get to them. Coulter Wilson, question. My players make some pretty amazing characters, and after going through backstory, prep, etc., they want to make a new character a couple weeks later. Yes, how do I help prevent character burnout? This is such a good question. Such a good question, because I have that player. And it is. I was that player, too. I was that player. Every couple weeks, I'm like, ooh, new character, new idea, new creativity. This is what a few minutes ago we talked about the DM having a cup and kind of pouring it out, and not having something to refill it. These players have an overflowing cup. They have too much creativity. They have so much spilling out that they don't have anywhere to pour it. The fastest way to get to help this is to make them a DM. Make them a DM, because they will have all the character creation that they possibly need. They have a whole world and things to pour out their creative energy to, and they'll do that. Now, if they don't want a DM and they just want to play, awesome. Let them pour. So what I've done with my players is that if I know them to be this kind of person or this kind of player, it's not a bad way to play. Some people just want to try out a bunch of different things. And this actually is pretty common when it comes to new players. I don't know if this player is new or not, but this is common for new players, where they have this world of D&D and the infinite possibilities of character creation and who they could be and who they would be and who they, who they can mix and match and become. That it gets, that it's pretty powerful. And so, what I do is I don't write them in the campaign. I don't write them in. Because I know that a couple weeks later they're going to want to just play another character. It's not going to matter anyways, right? So I don't do the prep work, and I don't do the campaign prep to tie this character into the story until I know that they're settled, right? And then that might not be for a while. But if I have a new player that comes in, plays a couple different characters for a couple weeks, but then gets to a point where they play one character for like 10, 15 sessions, right? And then I'm like, oh, they're really wanting to play this one. Then I'll tie it in. Then I'll find where the threads are kind of currently, figure out how to tie it in after that, and they are none the wiser, right? And so, yeah, I guess, long story short, let them. Let them be creative. Let them be the character creation activists that they want to be. Because the last thing that you want to do is tell them, hey, you have to play that forever. You have to play this one character for the end of the campaign. They become bored. They become envious. They become jealous of different things. They want to try some things out. They become to hate their character. They come to resent you. And it's a mess, right? And I'm talking about like worst case scenario, because it could very well be a person that you walk up to and says, hey, I really want, this one's tied in the campaign. I really want you to play it through. I got some really awesome stuff prepared for you. And they'd be like, yeah, great, awesome. I'll stick with this one then. And then it's great, right? And maybe start with that. Maybe say like, hey, I know that you want to start with a new thing, but I've already kind of tied you into a bunch of cool things. I can promise you that they're really cool, and I think that you're going to like them. How do you feel about still sticking around with this character for a little bit longer while we get into those kind of things, and then see if you want to change then? And then they're left like, no, I don't. I think I would just want to play something else. Great, right? Because they're playing to play their character. They're playing to have fun. If that's how they want to have fun, that's it. And kind of as a DM, you just kind of got to let them, right? So that was a great question. Great question. Hopefully that answers that. Tyler Williams, question, what is your favorite cleric domain? I get this one a lot. It is the trickery domain. It is the trickery domain. Although, there are some good side ones too, though. I've recently fallen in love with the grave domain. Love the grave domain. And I hate the twilight domain. Oh, I love the flavor of the twilight domain cleric. But man, as a DM, is this frustrating. I let one player play a trickery a Twilight Domain Satyr Cleric. That was a mistake. So maybe another reason that I caused the TPK recently, huh? No, I would never do that. Let's see, some other good ones. Peace and Order are relatively new, I think. Both of them. One of them is older. I forget which one. There are so many good domains, and I just want to play all of them. You know what I should do? What I should do is just make a coven where there are clerics of all the domains. Just one of each. Just in one place. Just have them hang out. It'd be kind of cool. Does anyone else feel we're going to get a new setting introduced by the Wizards of the Coast for the new Capena as a possible setting for D&D? Ooh, that's possible. Capena, if I remember right, that's a MTG setting, right? And MTG Capena? Yes. Yeah, Streets of New Capena. Yeah. I would not be surprised if we had more settings from MTG, because they're the same company, right? They're the same company. And so it makes business sense to pull from one to market the other. So we haven't actually seen a lot of no, that's a lie. We did see the MTG having like the Forgotten Realms card set, which was a lot of fun for everyone. But for D&D, we've got Ravnica, we got Theros, and then Capena. Maybe I would, because Capena is like it's a more modern, right? Let's see if I can actually find some inspirational. Yeah. Oh heck yeah. Oh heck yeah. I hope so. This is what's the punk? What's the punk I'm thinking of? It is the. Hold on, guys. This is gonna bother me if I don't. Not Atom Punk. Modem Punk? Deco Punk. There it is. Deco Punk. Yeah, Patricia, you beat me to it. Yeah. Deco Punk. Yeah, it's a Deco Punk style. And oh my goodness, I would freaking love a Deco Punk setting. Oh, that would be so nice. So I personally would vote for a new Capena D&D setting. I would. Oh yeah, Rolling Crits, Strixhaven. Yeah, Strixhaven as well. It was released about at the same time. Yeah. So Strixhaven. They made a lot more than I thought. They made a ton. How many settings are there in MTG? Do you guys know? How many is MTG the right word? Wait. Oh no, I was reading 101. No, there are 140 sets. Are we talking about planes? Like a MTG planes? How many planes there are? I might have to do some of my own research after this, because I'd be wondering like how long would it take to kind of reach all of the different areas of Magic, and at that point, when does Magic just become D&D, right? Which, I mean, I guess maybe could happen. I haven't seen anybody talk about that, which would be very, very interesting. Another one that just came out. Which one just came out? It was a. It was kind of like the Asian-inspired, futuristic one that just came out. Why are my search results just not working today? Maybe 2022? Oh, look at MT22. MTG has too many settings to list on the top of my head. Yeah, Patricius. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. Kamigawa Neon Dynasty is the Corrado. You got it. That just came out, but it seems like there are a ton coming out this year. I didn't think that this was going to turn into an MTG stream, but it did. So we're getting Innistrad, Kamigawa. I've played MTG. I could probably count on the one hand how many times I've played, but it's a great game and I do like it. I wish I had time to play it more. Streets of New Capenna, Dominaria United, the Brothers War, and then other Commander and Challenger decks. Ooh, we got Battle for Baldur's Gate. That'll be another D&D tie-in. Oh, that already came out on June 10th. Never mind. What about 2023? While we're at it. Why not? Okay, so then there are 4 in 2023. Pyrexia? Ooh, that looks pretty. Pyrexia will be 1. March of the Machine, Wilds of Eldraine, and the Lost Caverns of Ixalan. I think all of those were previewed in the Wizards Presents a little bit ago. The big live stream event that they did for a bunch of D&D products and MTG products. The D&D next year being the supplement on Giants and all things Giants. The Book of Many Things or something like that. A book of all magic items and equipment, and I think it's just kind of an all-around player-focused upgrade. And then Planescape later in the year, which I'm also excited about. When D&D has a Warhammer 40k setting, that will be the day. Yeah. I don't know if that is ever going to happen, but it makes sense, right? It makes sense. D&D having a Warhammer 40k, but then you also think what if they had a Cthulhu crossover, but then they're well, it's, might as well just play Cthulhu at that point, which I've always wanted to play Call of Cthulhu too, and I haven't. Christian, so excited for the giant book. I love the dragon book, because I grew up, or Fizban's Treasure of Dragons, I grew up on science dragon book, those explorations and pop-up dragons, and you learn about the scales and what if this creature was real, and love those kind of things. And so I'm excited about the giant one too, because you can't have dragons without giants, and especially in Forgotten Realms lore, right? It's the giant dragon war. And if you really wanted to play up that kind of area or time in the past Forgotten Realms, for those of you who don't know, it was a time where the dragons and the giants were at war with each other, then it'd be perfect to kind of tie those two things together. Let's see, Tarkir. What's Tarkir? MTG Tarkir? What does this look like? Ooh, Cultures of Eastern Asia. That looks cool. And who's to say? Who's to stop you guys from just making that a setting for yourself, right? I mean, sure, we can wait a decade for D&D to push all of these settings out, or you can, if you're familiar with the lore, just look as much into it as you can, do a little research, and then I'm sure that other people have probably actually done a lot of the work for you in creating maps or tying together things in databases. Or you could just kind of pick and choose and make it. So if you want to play in a setting of MTG, run it by your players and maybe even have them help you out if they're MTG fans as well. And I'm sure if they are, that they will correct you when things are a little bit different. MTG Brexit, Battle for European Currency? Wait. I feel like that's a joke that I don't get. I looked up MTG Brexit. There's legit, what if Brexit was an MTG deck? And there's a video on YouTube about it. So if you need something to watch after the stream, there you go. Cool. Well, I think we'll end it there, folks. This was a lot of fun for me. And I like that we were able to do a couple Patreon messages at the beginning. We talked about a lot today. We talked about a lot. So, anyways, do I have anything to announce? Anything to say? Just keeping on the Spooktober this month. A lot of scary things coming. There's a Discord. If you don't know, there's a Discord that we can hop on and talk shop after. A lot of fun flavor things being talked about on a daily basis. Yeah, it was a joke. Okay, it was a joke. You sounded like you said Brexit when you were talking about MTG earlier. Oh, well, apparently it's a thing. Apparently there's a video on it, which I will probably click on after this as well. It got my attention. If you guys want to help me out with content, that is also on my Discord. Always looking for writers and creators and things like that. If you want to be a patron member, link in the description. But in the meantime, go out there and spread the good word of D&D and make the world a better place, both on and off the tables. See you guys next time. It was so good.